When you walk past a massive construction site, the process of building the future feels incredibly obvious.
Oh, totally.
You see the hard hats, you hear the steel beams being hoisted up into the air. You can, literally physically touch the concrete curing on the ground.
Right. It's very tangible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the most massive construction project in human history is happening all around you right now, and it is completely invisible.
Yeah.
So welcome to today's Deep Dive. We are thrilled you are sitting down with us today.
Yeah.
Because we are pointing our lens at a profound and honestly kind of intimidating question.
Yeah.
Who actually builds the future?
Yeah, and more specifically, how is that future being constructed around you at this exact second?
Right.
To get to the bottom of this, we're looking at a deeply compelling dialogue excerpted from a larger text. The source material features two figures, Nick and Maya, and they are basically breaking down the historical and philosophical observations of a figure they refer to as the time traveler.
Okay, let's unpack this, because what Nick and Maya are exploring here goes way beyond some, science fiction thought experiment.
Oh, for sure.
They're arguing that humanity is not fundamentally a physical society of bodies and buildings. We are, at our core, a civilization built entirely from ideas.
Yeah, it's a huge paradigm shift. And before we get into the weeds on this, we really want to invite you, the listener, to approach this with an open mind.
Yes, definitely.
You kind of have to leave your assumptions about how society operates at the door, because the mechanics here are just wild.
They really are.
That open mindset is crucial, because if we want to understand how the future is actually built, we have to transition away from treating the future as this abstract measurement of time.
Right.
And we have to start looking at the concrete reality of what actually constitutes a civilization.
So what did the time traveler observe about that?
Well, the core observation, which Nick highlights in the text, is that knowledge on its own is entirely inert.
Wait, inert? What do you mean?
If you have the cure for a disease written down in a book,
Right.
and that book just sits closed on a shelf for 100 years, it changes absolutely nothing about the physical world.
Ah, right. I mean, it's just ink on paper at that point.
Exactly.
The potential energy is there, sure, but there's no kinetic energy.
That's a great way to put it. The transition from potential to kinetic only happens when someone actually acts on the information.
Yeah.
The text illustrates this by pointing out that every suspension bridge, every modern hospital, every piece of major social reform, none of them started as physical objects.
Right. They all began as a single thought in someone's mind.
Precisely. Maya expands on this dynamic in the dialogue by noting that ideas shape human civilization far more forcefully than armies or governments or even massive accumulations of wealth.
That feels incredibly counterintuitive when you first hear it.
Yeah, it does.
Because we're so conditioned by, high school history classes to believe that guys with swords and tanks shape the world.
Sure, they do shape borders temporarily.
Right.
But look at the lifespan of those physical constructs. Empires rise and collapse within a few centuries.
Yeah, entire political regimes get overthrown over a single weekend.
Exactly. Physical currencies can become completely worthless overnight. Yet, powerful ideas like concepts of justice, mathematical principles, philosophical frameworks, they survive for thousands of years.
Wow, yeah, that puts it in perspective.
The source material really emphasizes that the structures we assume are the most rock-solid realities of our daily lives: money, national borders, the legal system, markets, universities.
None of them are physical objects.
Right. They aren't physical objects at all. They are shared concepts. They only exist because millions of people simultaneously believe in them and cooperate based on those invisible rules.
I want to try framing this in a way that kind of clicked for me when I was going through these notes.
Go for it.
It's like an invisible Wi-Fi network.
Ooh, I like that.
You can't see the signal, you can't touch it, but it is the underlying infrastructure connecting every single device in the building.
Yeah.
Our societal structures are just Wi-Fi networks.
That makes perfect sense.
The second we collectively drop the connection, society's hardware just stops functioning.
Yeah.
Look at a bank run.
Oh, yeah.
The bank still has its physical building, the steel vaults are completely intact, the computers are plugged in. But the moment the collective belief in the network of that institution vanishes,
The bank instantly collapses.
Exactly.
What's fascinating here is how fragile yet simultaneously unyielding that collective belief system really is.
Yeah, it's a paradox.
It demonstrates that civilization is, at its root, constructed from shared consensus. It's an architecture built completely out of stories.
Stories, yeah.
And the text doesn't just leave this as some neat philosophical metaphor. It actually grounds this concept in literal neuroscience.
Which is where it gets crazy. The
Mm.
jump from philosophy to biology is where this whole concept really started to gain traction for me.
Oh, 100%.
Because if society is this invisible architecture built on shared ideas, we have to figure out how those ideas get programmed into us in the first place, right?
Exactly.
And that comes down to the wetware, the actual mechanics of the human brain.
Right. So the source material dives into how the human brain is biologically wired for narrative.
Okay.
The prefrontal cortex consumes a massive amount of our body's energy. And to save calories, it basically acts as a relentless pattern-seeking machine.
Just trying to make sense of everything efficiently.
Yeah, it is constantly trying to organize the total chaos of reality into neat cause and effect explanations.
So it's an energy-saving trick.
Exactly. Because of this biological need to save cognitive energy, stories aren't merely entertainment. We tend to view stories as, like, the movies we watch to unwind on a Friday night.
Right, Netflix, whatever.
Yeah, but the text argues that narrative is the fundamental operating system of society itself.
Wait, if our brains are biologically hardwired to just absorb narratives as an energy-saving shortcut, aren't we incredibly vulnerable to bad programming?
Oh, massively.
I mean, if we just download whatever the prevailing story is to make sense of the world, a corrupted operating system would crash the whole society.
That specific vulnerability is actually central to Nick's argument in the dialogue. Because narratives are the operating system, they wield terrifying power.
Like what?
Well, a compelling story can unite millions of people to, say, build a space station. But a different story can just as easily mobilize millions of people to completely destroy each other.
And the examples the text gives of this harmful programming are pretty stark.
Very stark.
We have these prevailing stories that encourage endless, zero-sum conflict between different demographics.
Yeah.
We have narratives that define the entirety of human success through the hoarding of wealth, basically conditioning us to view every other human being as a competitor we have to defeat, rather than a collaborator we can build with.
It's a very bleak operating system.
Yeah, and if we are downloading those specific narratives from birth, we're essentially guaranteeing a grim adversarial future.
We would be, yes. But if not for the counterweight, the text introduces the blank slate theory.
Ah, right, the blank slate.
Yeah, so yes, the brain demands a narrative structure, but no infant is born with a genetic, predetermined loyalty to any particular story.
That's a crucial distinction.
No child comes out of the womb inherently believing they need to exploit their neighbor or accumulate endless capital.
Right, those are learned behaviors,
Exactly.
which means they can be uninstalled. Like, if a story is learned, it could be relearned.
Bingo. The neuroplasticity of the brain actually allows us to rewrite the operating system.
Wow.
The text insists that better, healthier stories exist, and they can be adopted just as easily.
So what do those better stories look like?
They're narratives that encourage boundless curiosity, that reward lifelong learning instead of blind obedience, and that actively celebrate cooperation to expand human potential.
This realization that our societal stories aren't just permanently burned into our hard drives, it forces a massive shift in how the text views the speed of societal change.
It really highlights the massive divergence between biological evolution and cultural evolution.
Right, because biological evolution is a grinding, millions of years process.
Very slow.
It takes countless generations for a species to evolve, like a slightly longer beak or a thicker coat of fur. But cultural evolution, Maya argues that cultural evolution can completely rewrite the rules of a society within a single generation.
Which completely upends how we think about time.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because cultural evolution happens so incredibly fast, the future is not predetermined.
No, none of
It's not some dusty script written by our ancestors that we are just forced to act out. Humanity is actively, dynamically creating the future every single day through our decisions, the institutions we support, the way we structure our schools, and the specific values we prioritize.
Yet Nick brings up an incredibly strange human contradiction that the time traveler observed regarding how we handle this power.
Oh yeah, the planning thing.
Right. As a species, we will meticulously plan out our schedule for next week. We know what meetings we have, we budget our paychecks for the month, we plan vacations a year in advance. But we rarely put that same cognitive effort into thinking about the next century.
Why the blind spot? Is it just that 100 years out feels like science fiction to us?
That's the mechanical reason, yes. Our prefrontal cortex evolved to keep us alive through the next winter, not to conceptualize abstract timelines extending far beyond our own lifespans.
Right, thinking about the year 2150 feels entirely abstract.
It does, but the absolute reality is that the physical and social world you and I navigate today was built by previous generations who somehow managed to override that biological blind spot.
Yeah, the text mentions that classic metaphor: people planting trees whose shade they know they will never sit in.
It's a beautiful image.
They laid the bricks for universities they would never attend, and they suffered through the trial and error of medical discoveries they wouldn't live long enough to benefit from.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the time traveler views this specific capacity, the conscious decision to invest in a future beyond one's own existence, as one of humanity's noblest qualities.
Yeah.
It is the literal mechanism of intentional cultural evolution.
Which naturally leads us to ask, well, if the future isn't something that just passively washes over us, but is actively built every day through rapid cultural evolution, who holds the blueprints?
Right, who is actually in charge?
Yeah, if I want to find the architects of the future, who am I looking for?
Maya is very direct about this in the text. The architects are everywhere.
Everywhere.
It is the scientists pushing boundaries, the teachers shaping the next generation, the engineers, the artists, the farmers, the parents, the students.
The vital takeaway from Maya's list is who she leaves out.
Exactly.
The future is not built solely by famous people. History books have this bad habit of only recording the names of kings, prime ministers, and, tech billionaires.
Right, the usual suspects.
But the text argues that history rarely records the names of the people actually laying the foundation of civilization.
It's so true.
But I have to push back on Maya's premise here on behalf of you, our listener.
Okay, let's hear it.
If everyone is supposedly an architect of the future, there's a massive disconnect with how people actually feel.
In what way?
When most of us look at the news or the sheer scale of global problems, we don't feel like powerful architects. We feel utterly powerless, like passengers on a bus that's heading toward a cliff.
Yeah, that's a very common feeling.
So how does the text reconcile that feeling of powerlessness with the claim that we are all building the future?
The text addresses that disconnect head-on. Maya argues that this widespread feeling of powerlessness comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of cumulative influence.
Cumulative influence, okay.
We are conditioned to look for massive, dramatic strokes of change, like a single piece of landmark legislation or one revolutionary invention.
Right, the silver bullet.
Exactly. But that's not how the architecture of ideas is built.
So how does cumulative influence actually work mechanically?
The imagery Maya uses is water falling on stone.
Okay.
A single drop of water hitting a boulder seems laughably insignificant. You can't measure its impact in the moment.
No, of course not.
Yet, millions of those drops forming a river will literally carve through solid granite and shape canyons.
Wow, yeah.
Civilizations are not built by the dramatic sweep of a master architect's pen. They are shaped by countless microscopic decisions repeated over and over by millions of people across decades.
That reframes things entirely.
It really does.
It means the daily choices you make, the specific tone of the stories you tell your kids, the ethics you demand in your workplace, the way you treat a stranger, you are literally the drop of water carving the canyon.
Yes.
You are actively contributing to the cultural evolution of the future, whether you realize it or not. There is no opting out of this process.
And the text points out that the timing of your specific participation in this process has never been more critical.
Why now specifically?
The dialogue moves toward a realization that completely recontextualizes our current era. Nick reveals that humanity may be entering the single most important century in its entire history.
That is a staggering claim.
It is.
They're saying this century is more pivotal than the Industrial Revolution or the Scientific Revolution.
Potentially bigger than the agricultural revolution, which is what started human civilization in the first place.
Unbelievable. Why?
The reasoning behind this claim is technological capacity.
Okay.
For the first time in human history, we aren't just reacting to our environment or stumbling into new eras by accident.
All right.
We finally possess the computational tools, the global communication networks, and the scientific knowledge to intentionally redesign the major pillars of civilization.
We're doing it on purpose now.
Exactly. We have the capability to completely overhaul our energy grids, redefine modern medicine, and restructure global economics. This raises an important question, as Nick frames it in the dialogue. The entire paradigm of humanity has shifted. For thousands of years, the question was passive. what future will arrive.
Right. We treated the future like the weather. You just braced for it.
Precisely. But now, because of our newfound capacity for intentional redesign, the question has become entirely active. What future will we choose?
So what does this all mean when you combine the power of intentional redesign with the realization that every single one of us is an architect? Well, what is the end goal here?
Right.
Where does the text say this cumulative effort is actually taking us?
It leads to the final, most revolutionary concept discussed by Nick and Maya.
Let's hear it.
They point out that this intentional redesign could bring about a reality that economists and philosophers have dreamed about for centuries.
Okay.
We are looking at the very real possibility that humanity may eventually engineer its way out of scarcity entirely.
Wait, if scarcity is engineered out, the entire foundation of human history just evaporates.
Basically, yes.
Let's really dig into the mechanics of that. From the earliest hunter-gatherer tribes to modern Wall Street, the underlying operating system of humanity has been a zero-sum game of scarcity.
Always.
There's never enough to go around. Not enough fertile land, not enough energy, not enough capital. If one group takes a larger slice of the pie, there is mathematically less pie for everyone else.
And that exact dynamic is what has driven nearly every war, dictated every economic system, and justified the harshest societal hierarchies.
Yeah.
But the text proposes that if we intentionally rewrite our cultural operating system, if we leverage our shared technological knowledge and focus on collaboration over competition, we might actually end that ancient struggle.
That is huge.
Nick describes moving to a post-scarcity society as the most radical idea humanity has ever entertained.
The implications of that are wild.
Yeah.
The ultimate project of humanity is no longer just surviving the brutal winters of the future, but intentionally building a future where the pie is infinite.
Infinite pie, yeah.
The old stories of endless conflict and wealth hoarding wouldn't just be immoral, they would be completely obsolete, because the baseline condition of scarcity wouldn't exist anymore.
But the text is careful to note that a post-scarcity future won't just magically appear because the technology gets better.
Right, technology isn't enough on its own.
No, it requires the right invisible architecture to support it. It requires the collective to agree upon and adopt new stories about cooperation and shared value to actually make that future a reality.
Which brings us back to where we started, and back to you. We opened this deep dive looking for the construction site of the future, and we found out that you were standing in the middle of it.
Historically, humans looked to religions or dogmatic belief systems to supply them with prophecies about the future.
Yeah.
The future was something handed down from above, something you simply waited to endure.
But the profound realization hidden within this dialogue is that the future is not prophesied, it is built.
Built by us.
It is built from ideas, it is coded through the narratives we accept, and it is forged by the cumulative influence of millions of unfamous, ordinary people. You are one of its architects. Every time you reject a narrative of zero-sum division and actively choose a narrative of cooperation, you are laying a brick.
You are updating the operating system of society in real time.
But before we let you go, I want to leave you with a thought to chew on. Something that builds on everything we've unpacked today about the immense power of narrative.
Let's hear it.
If human civilization is entirely an architecture of stories, and if the stories we consume literally dictate the direction of our cultural evolution, we have to take a hard look at how stories are being generated today.
Oh, absolutely.
Right now, the media we consume, the information feeds we scroll through, the narratives that shape our daily reality, they are increasingly being curated, amplified, and in many cases, literally written by artificial intelligence and digital algorithms designed purely to maximize our attention.
That introduces a staggering new variable into the process of cultural evolution.
So the haunting question you have to ask yourself as an architect is this: who is really holding the pen for the next generation?
That's a chilling thought.
Are we unknowingly outsourcing our cultural evolution to machines that are optimizing for engagement rather than human flourishing? Or will you consciously choose the stories you consume, the narratives you share, and the blueprints you pass down?
The scaffolding is being erected today, whether we are paying attention to the builders or not.
When you step outside today and look around, remember our opening thought. The construction site of the future isn't invisible because it's hiding from you. It's invisible because it is everywhere.
Right.
The hard hats aren't missing. You're wearing one. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep examining the blueprints, and as always, keep questioning the narrative.